I gotta detangle my hair, so because I gotta detangle my hair, I'm gonna go ahead and talk while I do that. Yeah, this flat iron has been, I haven't washed my hair since I flat ironed it, and I don't remember when I actually told y'all that I was flat ironing it. But your girl's gonna be training for not a half marathon. I haven't done a half marathon since 2021. Yes. Um, So I'm going in slowly and I'm going to do a 15K. So I'm excited about that. So my hair can't no longer be straight. I'm gonna wash it this weekend, God's willing. Um, but man, I'm gonna miss this easy maintenance with a toddler and straight hair. Well, straight-ish hair. Anyways, so I titled this video Why the Hate on Either Sexes, but it's mainly gonna be talking about the hate on men. So I have mentioned before, I don't listen to a lot of people, but there are some people I can like respect like their views and things like that, even if I don't agree with them 100%. So one of the podcasts I sometimes listen to is called The Basement, and it's with Tim Ross. Tim Ross is, I don't know if he still is a pastor. I think he stepped down as a pastor to focus on like his own things or whatever. But he used to be a pastor for the most part. He's a biblically sound guy. And with most of his answers that he give, he can, point it back to the Bible. Now, there's certain things that he's said that publicly that I may not agree with, but that's okay. Sometimes we're not meant to agree with every single person a person says. That's all right. And so he was invited, him and this woman, her name was Princella, and they were invited to two other people podcast. Don't remember the name of the podcast at the moment. And it came up on my feed on YouTube. I spend a lot of time on YouTube. I love YouTube. Give me 1 second. I gotta pick up this hair before my child decides to pick it up and want to put it in his mouth. I can't wait till that phase is over. But anyways, it talks about how they were gonna go head to head on like their position on marriage and family and all this other stuff, right? So I never heard of this particular woman. This was my first time hearing about this woman. And at first I'm like, what's happening? So within like her intro video, it seems like she was one of those women that bash men a lot. And let me preface this by saying that I've never been into any relationship podcasts or like dating podcasts or anything like that. That talks about, did I pull this out? I pulled this gray hair out. Doggone it. I've never been a fan of any of those podcasts that always talks about what a woman's role should be, what a man's role should be, why this and that, especially when they come from unmarried people. That always rubbed me the wrong way. It's like, how do you have a podcast devoted on talking about different relationships and all this other stuff, and you're not even married or you're not even in a successful relationship? So how dare you give people advice on what a good relationship should be when you're not in one? Anyways, so her intro video talks about, the man this and how you don't need a man and all this other stuff, right? So at first I was like, sis, what? All right, what are we doing? What are we talking about? What are we talking about? And so I decided to watch it only because of Tim Ross. And the reason why is because one of the things I actually really love and appreciate about Tim Ross is the fact that he really comes at people with like the non-judgmental attitude. Like, it really is a safe space to talk to him, whether you guys agree or not. And he gives you this the space to talk. He gives you the space. He actually listens and comprehend, or tries to comprehend, where you're coming from. He's never rude about it. Like, it's always just a good place to talk to him. So I've always admired that, because I'm like, dang, I want to be able to approach people like that too. And it's not that I mean, it's just I know where I want to go in life, and I want to make sure that I never make anybody feel judged, or make me feel like I'm holier than thou because my belief is different than yours. So they go on and they start having a conversation. And I'm not gonna lie, at first I was like, oh, she's one of those women. Like, there's nothing she says that I'm going to agree with. Because one, I believe in Jesus, and I don't believe a man isn't not needed or something. My words jumbled up. Anyways, and she preferenced something that's called a nuclear family. Now, I had no idea what the heck a nuclear family was. But the nuclear family is basically man, woman, children under one household. She don't believe in that. It does not work in her mind. She is saying scientifically, this should not be. This is not the way nature intended life. That's her stance. A man is supposed to have their own separate space. So they said, they asked her, they were like, so are you saying a man shouldn't be in the children, like shouldn't be in the same household with their children and all that other stuff? And she was like, yeah, that's what I believe. The mother, basically a woman don't need a man. Point blank, period. That is where she is coming from. Because the podcast, it was a live podcast. It was 3 hours long. I'm not going to sit here and pick at everything that was said. If you want to go watch it, I will find the link and I will put it in the description. Just know I did not watch it in one sitting. It had to be broken apart because I have a toddler that I need to attend to, and 3 hours is not, it's just not happening. Okay, I watched the bulk of it during his nap while doing other stuff. So she's basically point blank, period. A woman don't need a man, but a man need a woman. So, and then, Tim, what I like about Tim is that he is genuinely asking questions, like to try to understand where she's coming from, to try and understand why she believes the things she believes, because she keeps talking about science, and marriage was never supposed to be a thing. Like, marriage is just, it doesn't make sense. That's not how nature intends, and it's not supposed to be, right? And she goes on to say, statistically, marriages are basically not successful. So you can come at her and say, I've been married to my wife for like 50 years or something like that. And she will not be impressed, because she knows, like she says, I know without a doubt that the woman had to suppress something in order for that marriage to thrive. She had to deal with something from the man in order for that marriage to be the length that it is. And she's like, she's never heard of a woman talk about the beauty of a marriage long term without her giving up something. Like, basically, marriage does not benefit the woman at all. It just benefits the man. And we basically, like, all the religious books or whatever are catered to men. They're supposed to be for men. They're not for women. She was just going on, and about how what a woman's role is and what a man's role is and stuff like that. And basically, we as a woman, we can survive with no problem without a man, you know? But a man will literally get sick and get sick, or something will happen to them, or become inflamed, if you know what I mean, if they don't have any interaction with a woman. And then she goes on to say that like dang, what was it that like if a man and a woman dies, it's very rare that the man is just going to stay single. They will find another woman within that year or whatever. That's why I said certain things I did not agree with, because I know of successful marriages from both parties, and I know of certain men who are very much alone and stay alone because they had, you know, their wife pass on, and that was their wife, you know. And so it was a very interesting conversation, and listening to everything. I love the fact that Tim Ross took everything she said and still found a way to bring it back to Jesus. And he agreed with her in the fact that all of us are, you know, messed up. Men, women, whatever, messed up. And that's why we follow the man, not just men in general, but the man, Jesus. Like he brought it back to Jesus. I think that's a gift, because as I was listening to her talk, there are certain points I was getting annoyed, and there's other points I was just like, when you're having these conversations with people who don't have the same belief as you, how do you still bring it back to Jesus with incorporating the things that they're saying, and not telling them that they're wrong, and not telling them that, you know, what you believe in is nonsense or whatever the case may be, but actually use what they're saying and say, yeah, you're right, and still turn it back to Jesus. Although she still didn't agree at the end, she approached Tim differently than how the two hosts of the actual podcast, because I didn't actually really hated the fact, hey girl, I actually really hated the fact that they never let her finish what she had to say. They would ask her a question. Now, mind you, in the beginning of the podcast, I was getting annoyed with her because they were asking a plain question and she wasn't answering just straight out. She was always just trying to like fluff or going around the circle for me. But towards the end, they were asking her a question and she was trying to lay out the foundation of the question, and they were just like, okay, well, just answer. I'm like, y'all are proving her point. Y'all are literally proving her point on how men don't do certain things when it comes to women. And so I agreed with maybe 10% of what she said. Maybe even 20. I'll even give her a little 20% of what she said. But majority of everything else, with her saying that men are basically not needed, I disagree with that, because my belief system is a husband and a wife, not just a man and a woman under a roof, a husband and a wife and their children, with God being the head of the household and all. That's my belief. And so anyways, so that was that. And then I'm on TikTok, right? I'm trying to upload my stuff on TikTok, and you know, they got the little For You page, and I guess my phone was just listening to the fact that I was talking about this woman and this podcast all day. I started seeing a whole bunch of women who are just bashing men, and I'm like, oh my gosh. This is crazy to me. And I mean, the men they were, some of the videos were like stitch videos where they played that video first and then talk about that video. Those I can understand because I could see where the men were wrong and they're trying to correct this or correct that. But then if you're just saying in general, men are this, men are that, men are this, I'm just like, why this attack on men? Like, and I get it, there are some men too who do nothing all day but attack women as well, but my God, I'm like, who really hurt you? Because granted, I've been hurt by men before, but I've never just genuinely been like, okay, let's just take men out the equation. This is why they're horrible. This is that. This is that. You can't say that and then also give the positive of a man as well, because there are positives. And it's very sad to see, like, why is this a thing? Like, my gosh, where is the love between the sexes? Where is the respect between the sexes? I'm just like, so, well, I'm not entirely too confused because I know as we're getting closer to, God coming back and being like, all right, I'm kind of done with y'all. I know there's just going to be turmoil just between households. I know between sexes and the rise of this and the rise of that. I get that, but it's just very sad to actually witness because I know there are good men out there. I know there are good women out there. My husband, for example, that man is a good man. And he's never made me feel, I'm going to go back to that first lady from the podcast I was listening to this morning. She was saying one of her main points was that men see women as just this domesticated being. They have to cook, they have to clean, they have to take care of the babies, they got to do this and do that, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Right? And like that, their only role is to provide, right? That's how some men, their thinking is that they're only to provide, so the woman should be doing everything else. And I disagreed. And Tim Ross, he disagreed too, because he doesn't treat his wife like that. And Joseph does not treat me like that at all. When I tell you that man would literally, he's probably more of a clean freak than I am. She was saying that women cannot survive in clutter. Joseph can't survive in clutter. This man will stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning sometimes and fix things in a particular order. And he's never mad at me. And for him, low-key, I think he got OCD, but that's neither here nor there. It's just to clean certain stuff. Sometimes he's the one offering to cook. He's the one offering to do this with the boys. He's offering to do this. He's offering to do that. And I'm just like, literally all the things that she's saying that a man wouldn't do, or a man in their mind, they cannot function that they're supposed to do. I'm like, well, sis, you haven't met Joseph Jones, because and she was talking about if there's a man out there, they're part of that 1%. And I'm like, well, I guess I got that 1%, because no, like, I'm literally surrounded by good men. And she was like, oh, if that marriage has survived that long, the man has probably put the woman through some type of turmoil. And I get it. I haven't been married for long at all. It's only going on 4 years. But so far, it's great in the sense of he literally, how can I explain it? Let's just say that if I died tomorrow, yes, I agree. If you're going to talk about the negative, talk about the positives as well. I just feel like if I died tomorrow, God forbid, Joseph is going to be a very, very, very sad man, a very sad man. but he will survive and survive on his own. Like, he's mentioned it to me before. Like, he doesn't necessarily need me to cook, to clean, to do all of these things because he can do it himself. It really is like a blended, we've literally just become one. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, I don't know what else to say. I kind of really want other people's opinions. I want believers' opinions on this podcast. So I really am going to put the link in this description. But there are really great men out there who don't cheat, who do stay faithful, who do more than what people think a man don't do, or whatever the case may be. And I just pray that the sex bashing trend just stops, because it's not what it is. It's just, and we do live in an age of social media where people are just digesting this information. You watch one video because you're mad at a man or whatever, or you want men to do certain things, and then boom, that's all your algorithm is going to feed you, and that's all you're going to know. And then now you're going to hate that sex. Now, mind you, I got nothing against homosexuals or anything. I don't have nothing against them or whatever. But she hates men. She kind of dislikes men so much that she just doesn't deal with them anymore, and now she's just dating women. So I'm just like, are you basing all of these truly on scientific facts, because that's what she was saying, on science, or are you just hurt and you don't realize that you're just hurt from all your past experiences with men? And I could say the same thing for men that bash women all the time. I hate those platforms where men is telling women, this is what you should do, this is what a man looks for, and this and that, or whatever. And mind you, they are single as ever, or they're doing the wrong things to whoever they're with. I'm just like, hush. People just need to learn for themselves sometimes and just stop listening to other people. I'm so frustrated. I don't know. But that's what I wanted to vent about and talk about. And I really do pray that it ends, because it is very, very detrimental to our society right now. Yes, there are bad men. Yes, there are bad women. But there are also great women, and there are also great men. That there's a good and bad to every single thing in life. I really wish this is a trend that stops, honestly. Yeah, so the biggest lesson I got from this podcast that I listened to this morning is learning how to bring things right back to Jesus, because that was a skill that Tim had that I'm like, oh Lord, I need that. Because he did not bash this woman not once. He held her with still high respects and regards, listened gently, respected her. It was like, Jesus still is the only 1% person you're talking about, the perfect man that you're talking about, that you say that don't exist, that came and, did all these things for us to lead us back to God our Father. But anyways, I've been talking for doggone near 24 minutes now, and I have to go feed my child. So, all right, love you guys. Love you, Nerly. Miss you. And I pray that you all have a good night. And if you find yourself bashing another sex, just try not to, and think about why you're even doing it. So, all right. Jesus loves you the most. Bye.